Hi everybody, so this video is going to go over 3.3 on Big Ideas Math. This section goes over function notation. So I'm going to go through the assignment and just do some example problems for you and show you how each type of problem in this assignment is done. So let's start with this here. It says f of x equals x plus 6. So first of all, don't let this weird looking notation confuse you. We talked about before, this really just means y. This is your output. Function notation is just a different way to write the output part of this. And so you could think of this as just y equals x plus 6, and then you're trying to figure out what y equals. They just write it in a different way. But all we're doing here is we're going to replace x with each of these three numbers, and we're going to do that separately. So you're actually going to come up with three different answers for each different value of x. So our equation here, I'll write this up here at the top, is x plus 6. So now it's telling us just to replace x with each of these numbers and see what we get. So if we replace x with -2, -2 plus 6 is 4. Next, we're going to replace with 0, so we now have 0 plus 6. And then it wants us to replace it with 5, so we just have 5 plus 6. So we're going to end up with three different answers here. I already said this one will be 4, 6 plus 0 is 6, and 5 plus 6 is 11. So our answers here are going to be 4, 6, and 11. So we have to write that in each of these 4, 6, and 11. So those are our answers for that one. Again, down here, I'll do the first one. So for this one, it's telling us that g of x equals 3x. So 3x is going to be our equation, and then again, all we're going to do is replace x with each of these numbers. So now we have 3 times -2, which of course is -6. Then we're just going to replace x with 0. 3 times 0 is obviously 0. And then 3 times 5 is 15. So those would be your answers there. For this one, it's a little bit of a longer equation, but you're still just doing the same thing. You are still just replacing x with each of these numbers. So for the first one, we have -2. This time, instead of x, we're going to fill in -2. So -2 times -2 plus 9. So -2 times -2 is 4, and 4 plus 9 is 13. So go ahead and just do the same thing with 0 and 5, replacing 0 and 5 in for x and see what you get there. All right, next one here is a little different, still the same concept here, but it's just a little different. So now we have h of x, and again, what letter here does not matter. It could be any letter in the alphabet. It's never going to be x, but it's going to be any other letter. It doesn't matter. Again, this whole thing, letter with the x in parentheses, it just means y. So equals -7x. So now it's telling us that the h of x part is 63. So up here, we're replacing x with each of these numbers. Now we're replacing the h of x with the number. It says h of x equals 63. So replace that with 63 and rewrite the rest of the problem. And now to solve this, we would divide both sides by -7. And 63 divided by -7 is -9. Okay, same thing here. We are just going to be replacing the t of x part with 24. So this becomes 24 equals 3x. And same thing here. Now they're saying it's 7. I'll go ahead and do this one because we could all use a little algebra review. So this says m of x, again, it could be any letter, it does not matter, equals 4x plus 15. And it says m of x equals 7. So this is 7 equals 4x plus 15. All right, now when we solve here, again, this is just a two-step algebraic equation. First thing we want to get rid of is this 15. It's plus 15, so we need to subtract 15 from both sides. 7 minus 15 is -8. We didn't do anything with this 4x, so it stays there. And plus 15 minus 15 cancel out to 0. So now we have this equation. Now we got to get rid of the 4. It's 4 times x, so we do opposite operations, and we divide by 4. We got to do that on both sides. Negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. These 4's will cancel out, just leaving us x. So x here equals negative 2. All right, slightly different type of problem now. Now we're looking at a graph. Same ideas here apply. Find the value of x so that f of x, so basically this is saying y equals 7. So if y equals 7, what does x equal? Well, if we go up, so 2, 4, 6, so 7 would be this line. So this line here is y equals 7. If we follow along to see, it is 5. So if y equals 7, now we could come down and see that x will equal 5. On this one here, again, we're saying that y equals 7. So 7 is actually the top of the box here. So if y equals 7 on this line, we could follow it down and see that x will equal negative 3. All right, so on this one, again, p of x, that's just your y, so don't let that confuse you. It's just y equals 4x is our equation here. So that means we need to figure out if x equals a certain number, what is y going to equal? Now on these, you could plug in literally any number in the world for x, and then you will figure out what that x's y is going to be if you made it a coordinated pair. Now the easiest way to do this is to replace x with 0 and 1. I always go with 0 and 1 because those are the easiest numbers to deal with. So if we replace x with 0, so we're saying we're making an ordered pair here, and x is going to be 0. So now we just have to figure out what is our y value going to be. Well, if x is 0, 4 times x is 0. So if x is 0, that means y is also 0. So we're going to put that point on this line. This is 0, 0. That's our origin. So now if x is 1, so we're going to make another ordered pair. Now x is 1. So if x is 1, 4 times 1 is 4. So if x is 1, then y is 4. So 1 and 4. To find 1 and 4, we start at origin. Our first number tells us x value, so it tells us left or right. It's positive 1, so we go right 1. And then we go up 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that is our line. Okay, now this one is going to be a little more complicated because now we have to do just a little more math. Here we have negative 4 plus 7x. So again, you could just always use 0 and 1 for x. Now this is one of those where it might be easier to use a couple different numbers here rather than 0 and 1. If you find a number that you think will be easier to graph, you could always use that. But I always like 0 and 1. So if x here is 0, so we're going to make an ordered pair, x is going to be 0. 7 times 0 is, of course, 0. Negative 4 plus 0 is negative 4. So on this graph, if x is 0, y is negative 4. So if x is 0, y is negative 4. So we'll put a dot there. And then our next one, if x is 1, what is y going to be? So if x here is 1, 7 times 1 is 7. Negative 4 plus 7 is 3. So our y here is going to be 3. So 1 on the x, and then 1, 2, 3 on the y. So there will be our line. Oh, I'll go ahead and just do this last one as well while we're at it. All right, so on this one, again, we could just use 0 for our x on the first one, and then we're going to use 1 for our x on the second one. So if x here is 0, 6 times 0 is 0, 3 minus 0 is 3, so our y would be 3. Here, if x is 1, 6 times 1 is 6, so now we have 3 minus 6, which is negative 3. So we could do both those points, 0 and 3. 0 on the X, 3 on the Y, and 1 on the X going right 1, and then -3 on the Y, so down 3. So there is our line. All right, that is it for this assignment. Make sure you are finishing your 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 on Big Ideas Math. Get those done, get them turned in, and be ready for your upcoming Unit 3 quiz. See you all tomorrow.